Hey, girls, whoever's kind of running the show, be here. Everyone else kind of find seats over here. Gentlemen, Victoria, Jill, if you can move this way, kind of let them commandeer that little area without all staying up and blocking people's vision. I like that better. They can move around after.
PowerPoint, hold up.
Yeah.
The code for the bookend is
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we're trying to get this started so that they have enough time. I'm gonna have to address the online people just for about 45 seconds to a minute. We can get started. I have a feeling, based on the length of the packets I copied on my lunch, this was, I guess the font was bigger on this one, but one was 16 pages and one was 7.
yeah, if you guys want to join the booklet right now, the code is right here. And so that you just prepare for when it's
I was being made fun of, obviously. Okay.
Does everybody have a packet? Everybody on bookend?
Okay. Second. Joining. Okay, those of you online, we're gonna get started right away. I'm just gonna share the screen here just briefly to keep you aware of what is happening. Those of you that are out in the crowd, get your talking over with because it's gonna stop here very shortly. And if you need to communicate with your group for some odd reason, do it. All right, so online students, virtual, we're going to modules. Going to the same place we were on Tuesday. And we are going down to where it says AP review, group review, handouts and slides. You click on that. It's for everybody out there as well who wants to see it at home or have access to it digitally. Here is the handout. Here are the slides. We are starting with a look at today. And those of you in class on the board, you need to make sure you see the nice writing up there. And I'm going to go ahead and put the code in, which is 257942. Okay. Oh, that didn't work out. All right. Katya, give me a thumbs up if you know what's going on. Beautiful. Okay. Well, on that note, anything else? So whoever's running it can stand up. Whoever's not, kind of take a seat just so that there's not a lot of we're not distracted by all the exciting activity going on, if that makes sense. All right, we're going to Yo. 6. Do I have to have a login or something to play this? Yeah.
Yeah, that's everything.
All right. How do we play?
Okay, and then, so you want to get some threes,
Okay.
this is self-pay. We don't have a whole system. It's testing questions, it's on your screen.
Oh. No, no, no. Stop it. That's ridiculous. I can't lose 25% of 0. God. Negative of terrorist farming.
Oh, let's go. I got nothing.
Oh.
Bro.
I think I won. I never lose my own games. Let's go. I gotta get one more for later. So just showing one more for later.
All right, we're playing another game.
I gotta stay awake
All right.
for these things. You understand? It's not easy. Yeah, I know. Okay. That was that game is awesome. Wow. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, make sure we are paying attention here as we're gonna get started with the teaching part. Yep. Stanley, you're online. Someone else is going to get your candy. All right, let's go. Oh, here's the clicker too. Oh, she's not gonna use these at all right now? Okay, so I need to turn the microphone on then.
Also, before we start, we have obviously a lot of information on this, so we're just going to highlight the important things. So some of the bullet points we won't fully go through.
Okay, speak loudly. You got it.
We're good?
Yep.
Okay,
Real loud.
so we're gonna start with the top of the page in Swahili. So in Swahili, Islam and Dar Islam spread rapidly. It was first introduced by Muslim merchants who traded in the Indian Ocean, who also brought along with them their language. So this created a syncretic language that combined Bantu language and Arabic words. And finally, Swahili states were formed and were politically independent as they were an example of their power. These city-states were also involved in Indian Ocean trade, but did not grow very large. However, the ports were very important centers for the trading networks. So in Mali, Mansa Musa was a powerful and wealthy monarch who centralized and expanded trade. He constructed mosques and religious schools to make Islam an important aspect in his people's lives.
Moving on with Zimbabwe, this was one of the non-Islamic parts of sub-Saharan Africa, as we remember, along with Egypt and Ethiopia from yesterday. This was one of the countries that developed more slowly in Africa, but was still able to emerge as a very strong African state between the 1100s and the 1400s. And there's also the construction of the Great Zimbabwe, which was a giant stone complex where the city of Zimbabwe was enclosed in its walls. Moving on with Ghana, this was a mandate state and it was a primary state of West Africa. There was no state religion and it was not unified as not as unified as empires that come later. However, it was able to strengthen itself and become more wealthy through taxation, the control and presence in the gold trade and exchange in ivory and slaves. And as Brooke mentioned, Islam, the religion was spread through trade routes and Muslim merchants, and this allowed for them to play a major role in the trans-Saharan trade. And many people adopted the Islamic chief distinction in North Africa and Morocco and to Egypt under the authority of the caliphates. And yeah. For Afro-Eurasia, it was mostly under Muslim rule at the time because of military expansion, and it was really kind of the center of the world at the time. There was a lot going on, and also it was this period was the height of Chinese arts and culture with the late Song Dynasty.
So now we have East Asia. Can anybody read out all of the dynasties and pronounce them correctly? Jill?
Song, Yuan, and Ming.
Okay, yeah. So the first one that I'm going to go over is the Song Dynasty. The Song Dynasty was governed by an imperial bureaucracy that used civil service exams. Not all of the dynasties use civil service exams, but this one did. The Song Dynasty had technological advancements such as the magnetic compass, gunpowder, movable type, the Grand Canal. And the Song Dynasty was also responsible for creating stronger iron and steel, and this really helped like everything like around the world. The agriculture also improved from the Song Dynasty. And an example of this is champa rice from Vietnam. The economy in the Song Dynasty was good. They used the Silk Road, and obviously everybody at that time, the Silk Road kind of revolved around the economy for everybody. They also used long distance trade from like land and water. The capital city for the Song Dynasty is Hangzhou, and this was an important trading city for the Song Dynasty. The next dynasty is the Yuan Dynasty. This is China's first foreign-led dynasty. It was established by the Kublai Khan, and after he defeated the Song in the United South and North China. The Yuan Dynasty took interest in Chinese culture and welfare. And unlike the Song Dynasty, this dynasty did not have any civil service exams. The Yuan Dynasty encouraged the spread of Buddhism and existing beliefs of Taoism, Muslims, and Christians. The Yuan Dynasty kind of struggled with their governing. They weren't as strong as some of the other dynasties. And this definitely weakened the Yuan Dynasty more than the rest of them. Now for the Ming Dynasty. The Ming Dynasty was established by Emperor Hongwu following the Yuan Dynasty and had an immediate goal to eliminate all signs of Mongol foreign rule. They didn't want anything to do with the Mongols. They wanted to develop their own thing, you know. So they centralized power and established direct rule as emperor. They did establish civil service exams based on Confucian values. And yeah, so now for China, the start of civil service exams was started by the An Dynasty. And like I said earlier, not all dynasties used this, but some did. And that played a big role in just the social hierarchy of dynasties and stuff like that. Some economic developments are the Grand Canal, gunpowder, champa rice, coal, public work projects, paper, and the tribute system. Can anybody read or say what the social order was for China? It's just 3. Oh, Ashton.
Scholar gentry. Well, the emperor's at the top, then scholar gentry and nobles and peasants, and then the merchants.
Yep. And then the patriarchal society, men dominated most of the system, and women were seen as just like supposed to raise children, take care of like the household, stuff like that. They didn't have as much power as men during this time. This was also when foot binding was popular. So Japan used, they had a unique feudal hierarchy. They had the emperor and the shogun. And shogun would rule over various daimo landowners who would all hire samurai to protect their land. And the samurai would protect these people's lands by something called the Bushido Code, which was a unique brand of chivalry. Through feudal and largely decentralized, Japan was able to develop its own unique society. Though Buddhism did spread to Japan, the Japanese government did not embrace the civil service system, nor did the society accept Confucianism. Now for Europe. So from 1096 to 1492 was the Crusades. This was a series of holy wars where Christians tried to take back Muslim land. This was declared by Pope Urban in 1095, and this take up the cross not successful in recapturing Palestine and Jerusalem. there was some religious conflict during this time, like the 100 Years' War. And yeah, the Renaissance was from the 14th to 17th century. This wasn't like a huge part of like our time period, but we just wanted to include it because this was really the start of the Renaissance. It was a feudal society. They used feudalism, obviously. They used serfdom. They had an agricultural society. And also in Europe, the status of women did improve. Yeah.
For South and Southeast Asia, there's the establishment of the Delhi Sultanate, which was a Islamic empire based in Delhi that stretched over most of the Indian subcontinent. So obviously there's the introduction of Islam into India, and the Hindus still maintained a lot of their traditions, but they were taxed if they weren't Muslim. Obviously Buddhism and Hinduism continued to spread, and there was lots of cross-cultural interactions and diffusion of culture. And something that contributed a lot to the spread of Buddhist and Hindu beliefs was the Indian Ocean Trade Network. Around this time, there was lots of improvements in shipbuilding and navigation. Can anyone tell me what 2 things India had that were sought after were? Jill?
Cotton and spices.
Yeah, the cotton industry and spice industry were very sought after. For Vietnam, they tried very hard to maintain their own independence, and they don't consider themselves as Chinese, but then even though their name closely translates to Southern people, and their society didn't have much of a hierarchy, but it was more focused on individual villages and families. And Confucianism and Buddhism spread there as well, but the impact of Confucianism is limited. Also, Korea was heavily influenced by China. Can anyone give me 3 examples of things that they got from China? Yeah, Confucianism, Buddhism, and civil services. Yeah. And however, the aristocracy in Korea did not allow for much social mobility. It was difficult to move up classes, and there was lots of class division. Moving on to the Americas. Looking at the Americas, we can date them back, most of the times we date them back all the way back to the Mississippi people and the Mayans, who were really big on astronomy and figuring out the stars. But in this time frame, we focus on the Aztec Empire and the Inca Empire. And the Aztecs were in Mexico, and they founded the city of Tenochtitlan in 1325. They were centered, their government system was a city state, and they had representations of gods on earth as they were polytheistic. And does anyone know the exact number of deities that they worshipped? Katie.
128.
Bingo, yes. And these were largely centered around their environment, as they were, we also have to look at the fact that they were largely isolated from the rest of the developing world. However, their main city, Tenochtitlan, had a much larger population actually than London at the time. So they were still very, very large, even though they were isolated. They did practice human sacrifice, as they found this a way to contribute to the gods that would help them have good harvests and promise them prosperity. They were divided into 5 tribes called the Calpuli, and their economy was largely agricultural. And this is also where we see the innovation of technologies and farming techniques, such as the chinampas, where they would grow their food in swampy rivers. And then also they used cacao beans and gold dust as currency. Moving on to the Inca Empire, they used terrace farming, as they were located near the Andes Mountains. And so they had to adapt to their surroundings. That meant living in the mountains. So they would flatten out parts of the land and survive there. They were founded, there were originally 10 clans, and the Inca ruler was almost considered a god. They were also polytheistic, and they also practiced human, or not always human sacrifices, but sacrifices to the gods, also to try and get promise for like flourish and bountiful like crop yields that year. They demonstrated diversity, continuity, and innovation, and they also used a labor system called the Mita system, where it was a labor system where everyone had to work periodically for the state in some form. And the government was also led by military elite. And another technological innovation that we see is the use of cow pulleys or knotted cords in place of writing and to keep track of numbers in place of written or paper, as paper was just developing in China. There was also gender parallelism, which isn't usually seen throughout this year.
So now onto the Silk Roads. The Silk Roads helped connect Asia with the West and was established by the Han Dynasty. It helped many empires grow and become politically powerful by spreading technology, food, riches, and resources. And with this, it came economic gains in the trading cities. But one of its downfalls was that it spread disease. Can someone name a disease that was spread throughout? Ethan?
Yeah.
And so now onto the Mongols. The Mongols were nomadic people from the Central Asian steppes. They were very violent and imposed a single-party political authority that enforced law and order. And they punished countries that refused to inherit their ways. And through their very powerful cavalry, the cavalry fought in groups of 10,000 that were subdivided. And the Mongols were very successful with the cavalry until they were defeated by Egypt. After that, in the death of the Khan, the Mongols divided into 4 clans called Khanates. And on the other hand, women had more rights in the Mongol society because they were able to own and inherit land and be able to fight in battles.
For the Indian Ocean Trading Network, there was a lot more long distance trade because of new technologies that were brought about. One of these new technologies was the larger ships. They could have more bulk items on these larger ships since they're bigger and room for more goods. And then diasporic, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, communities set up along these trade routes. And these communities are basically groups of people that camp along trade routes to kind of spread ideas to other people. And the people that they were influencing were these merchants that were coming along this trade route. Also, it drew large numbers of diversity and a lot of diverse cultures. So after this Indian Ocean Trading Network was brought about, you saw a lot of new cultures coming in. Also, the port cities grew into cosmopolitan cities, and they also spread different cultures, such as the religions of Buddhism and Hinduism as well. And also more sea trade was good because it allowed for bulk items to be shipped, such as ivory, spices, cotton, etc. These goods were hard to transport on land, so it was good that these sea routes were opened up. And then as for the trans-Saharan trade routes, it was introduced by the Arabs, and how things were traded through the trans-Saharan trade route was through camels, and it connected the Mediterranean basin to Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. And gold and ivory were exchanged for cloth, horses, salt, and other manufactured goods. And Islamic merchants spread Islam to Mali, spreading Dar al-Islam. And then also with the effects of cross-cultural interactions, we saw the Black Death, most commonly known as the Black Death, but it's also called the bubonic plague. And it killed 1/3 of Europe's population, and it's caused by fleas on squirrels and rats. And then you also see religions being spread around the world and culture, of course, but there's also tension because these different cultures are being spread and there's a lot of disagreements. So you definitely see conflict rising. And then also the agricultural revolution, crops were spread throughout these new trading networks that were brought about. And it also, a negative of this was it introduced slave trade, but it was also good because new crops and ideas were spread. And then as for the change in continuity, I'm just going to focus on 5. I'm not going to read them all. I'm number 5. So the printing press, new technology was brought about, especially with all these trading routes. The printing press was brought about, which was used to print books and money. So you see new currencies and also improvement in literacy. So people were more easily able to read and write because of these books. It also provided a new way of record keeping that hadn't been seen in history. And then for cause and effect, I'm going to focus on number 2. So the Silk Road and all of these other trade routes, like the Trans-Saharan and also the Indian Ocean Trading Network, as these became popular and people started to use them more frequently, it caused the improvement of luxury goods, urbanization, and technology advancements. These are kind of a given with trade routes being open up. And then compare and contrast, I'm going to focus on number 2. So empires in Asia were able to boost their economy, but Europe didn't have this opportunity due to the geographical positioning and where they were positioned on the map. They couldn't access these trade routes. So you see Asia having a boost in their economy, whereas Europe didn't have this opportunity. And then for the primary sources, do you have is this one?
Does anyone have any
I don't know what
questions?
it is.
Yeah, are there any questions?
You want to ask me?
Actually, I clicked on it. One second.
Ethan. So that was,
Can you say it real loud, Ethan, so that pick it up on the mic?
Can you describe what scholasticism is?
so during our time, I think it was the late Middle Ages, it was what was going on in Europe, where I think they were taking the teachings of like the Pope and the Church, and also combining that with like, so it's almost like secularism, because we see like the integration of the church. I think we'll focus more on that of 1450 to 1750.
Anna, you're talking way too fast.
However, the church was still, and religion was still a very big part of Europe, and this was influencing teaching and education. So I think that's just like over, it's just mainly pointing out like the education and like knowledge, or how information was being like transferred around Europe. Any other questions?
I'll try it.
What's that?
In your second compare and contrast, you said.
Hey, Ashton, talk into the microphone, please.
In the second compare and contrast, you said that, Asia had more opportunities for trade routes. Did Europe not have any big trade routes that they could use?
Well, not as like geographic. I think we're focusing more on the geographic aspect of it, just because of the positioning of the empires. While Europe still had access somewhat to these, but then you also have to remember the age of exploration and Europe's attempts to try and find new ways to tap into these trade routes. So technically, they didn't have like the advantage of the distance that the Asian countries had, but they still had it obviously, because they were able to grow more in 1450 to 1750 as they became more of like the sole economic power, and we see industrialization. What's up, Joe?
Can you re-explain what Shintoism is?
So Shintoism was the practice that the emperor was seen as a god, and it was used in Japan. And I think we learned about it actually just a few weeks ago when the US, this is like off topic, but when the US invaded Japan and said that they're not allowed to do that anymore. And I think it was just holding like the person in power like up to like the highest like parallel to a god. And yeah.
We have to get to this.
Okay, so here are 2 of our primary sources. The one on the far left is the Magna Carta. And this essentially was talking about how everyone has to follow the law, including the king. And the king was, I believe, forced to sign
He
this?
was forced to sign.
Yes, and this was in 1215. And obviously you can't really see this, so I added a quote from the Magna Carta. It says that the English church shall be free and enjoy her rights in their integrity and her liberties untouched. The her is obviously explaining the church and how the church is able to make its own decisions is what that quote means. And the king can't influence all the decisions of the clergy. And also, the audience is also just the people in England. And this is credible because this is the actual Magna Carta. And then on the right, this is like honestly just the chaos that was going on during the Black Death. And obviously diseases cause chaos. This is credible because it's straight from when this Black Death was going around, and the tone is chaotic. You see a lot of people are like on top of each other. It's kind of hard to see because it's also in black and white and it's pretty blurry. But people are like dead on the ground because it spread quickly and the death rate was very high within these diseases. So
Is it next or no? Um, This is a travel log about the city of Hangzhou, which I think was the capital at the time, and it was written by Marco Polo, who we learned about traveled a lot around China. And this is Inabuta's travel log, and he was a Muslim merchant that traveled around. And a quote was, "Never, if possible, cover any road a second time." And the source is reliable as it is a handwritten record of his journeys. And so I'd also note his name, Marco Polo's and Zhang He, as explorers, like are names that we should know because they were just big explorers and they were able to see, they were from different parts of the world, but they were able to see different dynasties and cultures at practice. And then this are
Who were the three again?
Zhang
Slow down,
He,
slow down.
so Inabuta, Marco Polo, and Zhang He, who was a Chinese merchant who traveled also the Indian trade route, but was stopped by the Chinese government as they found it excessive and they just wanted to focus on their own home and like not expanding. And then our second source is a picture of the printing press, which was made in 1440, where paper money was introduced and allowed for more books. And the occasion was previously Europe was using handwritten records and scribes in the 15th century.
So then we have two maps. This first one is Zhang He's trade route and how Hannah just explained. So he went from the South China into parts of India and into Eastern Africa in the Arabian Peninsula. And then here we have the Silk Road, and as you can see how we described in the packet, how it connected Asia all the way to West Africa, and how all the different trading cities that were in between, and how they were able to gain economic growth.
No, it's me. So now we have two maps that the one right here represents what the world looked like after the Mongol fall. I know we talked about how the Mongols were split into 4 clans called Khanates. The biggest one is the Great Khanate. Then we have the Golden Horde, the Chagatai, and the Ilkhanate. This map right here is meant to represent the Indian trade route network. As you can see, it had a lot to do with the ocean. It had a lot to do about like trading with the ocean, and you can see on this map that there's a lot of very important trading cities.
So this is a picture of the Trans-Saharan Trade Network. As we see, it was mostly focused in the upper western half of Africa. And also we see again the connection of big cities like Timbuktu, which was a very big trading city. And this also supports the idea of like the growth of cities, because we also see major growth in cities during this time period and how they were able to flourish and become more culturally diffused as a result of this interconnectedness of different regions and continents. Oh, that's it.
And can you press the link on the second one? So can somebody from each group raise their hand? I know there's 4 groups. Okay.
Yes. I would love
Okay, can you let virtual know that they are group 2? Oh, and virtual group, for this group, you are going to be group 2. So basically, where's the what will the name? Oh,
Yeah, Stanley, you're just gonna participate with the virtual students. Yeah, you got.
So we need to get going like really quickly. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be playing Jeopardy. So the rules for this is obviously I just had every group pick a piece of paper. The number that you pulled is the order in which you will go. So if you're 1, you get to pick first, and if you're 4, then you get to pick last, sadly. You'll have, I don't think we're going to have enough time for 30 seconds, maybe like 15 or 20. You can discuss with your group what the answer is, obviously not others because that would give it away, but whichever group gets the most points gets another sticker.
Yep.
And yeah, so who got part one? Okay.
This go, young people 100.
Okay. Then you can just click on it like it. Can you guys stop talking?
Sit down.
Can you guys sit down? Sorry. Or just like,
There's no seat back here for her to sit, so.
that's okay.
Okay.
Just like if you stand, that's okay. So yeah, geography 400. That's what you said, right?
All
400?
right, 400.
Okay, so what was the name of the trading city in Mali? So,
Should be.
6, 7, 8,
okay,
Timbuktu.
huh?
Timbuktu.
Okay, can you press the answer thing?
Good
Yeah,
job.
so you're right. So, can somebody keep track of points? Okay, so yeah, you guys, group one gets 400. Oh wait,
Just press.
It's escape and then I think you go.
Yeah, press escape and go back to slide 3. Okay, who got card number 2? Oh, wait, that was virtual. Virtual, can somebody just unmute and say whichever category you want to choose?
Empire's Dynasty, it's 100.
Okay, Empire's Dynasty 100. So, true or false, women a part of the Mongol Empire did not have rights compared to other societies?
Can anyone answer or just that?
Just that group.
If they get it wrong, you can answer.
Oh, that's false.
Okay, that would be correct. So that was, yeah, and then when you press back to questions, it
Oh,
should.
group number 3.
Who's group number 3? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Group number 3,
Can we have geography for 400?
okay. Oh, wait,
Oh, we just did
yeah,
that.
we already did that.
Extra information for 400?
Okay. What is the Bushido code?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Unique brand of chivalry.
Yep, okay.
I don't think brand is supposed to be
Well,
on there.
It works. So,
It was a code that they
yeah,
all followed.
practice by the same line. 400. Who got group number 4? Okay.
Trading 300.
True or false, the Indian Ocean Trading Network was not controlled by a specific empire.
That is true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was true.
All right, group 1 up again.
Okay.
Trading 400.
Trading 400. What was exchanged for cloth, horses, and salt along the sub-Saharan trade routes? And this is, there's 2 answers for this.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's not on there. 9, 10,
No, it is
11.
Yeah.
Gold.
And
Dust.
wait. You're not even. Wait.
Dust.
Are you sure?
Gold and dust. There's 2 answers.
Yeah.
Choose one of them.
No, it's 2.
You can just
Excuse
say
me, how
one.
much one total?
So is your answer gold dust?
Yeah, you just got rid of them.
Yeah,
It's
gold
gold
and
and
something
dust.
else.
But there's not enough time, so.
Gold and steel.
Well,
It's
so you got one right, so that's 200.
I know, I was like, dust. I said gold dust. But I didn't have that.
Can you guys quiet down? Sorry. Whose group? Oh, virtual. Virtual, pick a category.
Trading for 100.
Okay. What is the name of the disease that was spread due to trading around the world?
The bubonic plague.
Okay, can you press it? And yeah, that was correct. So, group 3. Okay.
Can we do empires and dynasties for 300?
Okay. Which Chinese dynasty had technological advancements such as the magnetic compass, gunpowder, movable type, and the Grand Canal?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
The song.
11.
Yep.
Yeah.
I took a guess.
So the answer is the Song Dynasty. So yeah,
Is that 100 or 200?
that was
Is that 3?
300.
300. Okay. Oh,
Oh, dude.
Go
I
back.
pressed back to that.
yeah, it was hard putting it all together. But
Yeah.
group 4.
Extra information, 400.
Okay.
They already did pick that one. Okay, 100 or 300?
Okay. What year did Mr. Burnett not win sectionals in men's tennis?
One of those ones.
Hey, what?
2011.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a whole debate.
Okay, yeah, they thought it was 2012, and I was like, no, it isn't.
No, because on the Kahoot it was 2011, but then when we asked him in class, he said 2012.
Okay, group.
Is it group 1 again? Or no?
Okay, group 1.
Empire Dynasty 400.
Empires and Dynasties 400.
Oh, didn't he say that?
Who established the Yuan Dynasty?
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Let's go.
Okay,
Let's go.
and yes, that was right. Kublai Khan.
Yeah.
And then can you press back to questions? Group 2, pick a category. Virtual.
Virtual students.
Trading 300.
What'd you say?
A little louder, Katya.
That was not hard.
Or Stanley.
Trading 300.
Wait,
Trade.
say that one more time.
Trading 300.
Okay.
For which one?
Trading 300.
Sure you didn't do that one yet?
Yeah, we already did that one. Can you pick another one? Just press answer and then back to questions. Can you pick another one?
Geography 200.
Okay. Jeez.
What country is
What country is the Grand Canal located in?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7.
China.
Yeah.
And the answer is correct. Wait,
Panama.
the answer is China.
What?
So yeah.
Isn't that another name for the Panama Canal?
No. The Panama Canal is the canal that's connecting North America and South America. That's the Panama Canal.
Can you press?
And then no, but there's also the Suez Canal, which is in Egypt. That got blocked like a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
That
There was
canal.
a huge ship.
Okay, group 3.
That's us. Extra information for 200.
Extra information 200. What is that Chinampa? This is two. This is for 4 for 200.
Okay. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Rice.
1.
What? There is. That's the Vietnamese rice that like lasted
No.
forever.
That's okay.
That's
look
that's
down.
that's like camel
That
rice.
is
That's
a-
from Vietnam.
I was
Should we make it a rock paper scissors?
No. Wait, everybody be quiet. Everybody be quiet.
Rock paper scissors.
Yeah, rock, paper, scissors.
No contact out.
That's out of 3.
No, best out of one, best out of
Let's
one.
go. Go.
Wait, one and done. No,
Oh yeah.
What is Chinampa?
It's that water gardening. It's like the thing in the water.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's okay. You got it right.
What is it?
I don't know what just happened there. I think we tried to press the same thing. Okay, well, that was correct. So, yeah. Group,
Wait, no, now it's group 4.
yeah. And now it's back to group 4.
Yeah.
What's still open? Yeah, what?
Extra information 100, I think.
Extra information 100.
Okay.
I think.
What is polytheism?
It's worshiping multiple gods.
Yeah.
Say one.
Nope. Yeah, so the belief that there is multiple gods / religious figures.
Alright, back to group 1.
Okay.
Can you press back to questions again?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which ones are left?
No clue.
Is geography 300 left?
Yes, that's all.
No, I think we.
Probably geography
You
100.
just look up there and show me 300s over.
Yeah.
No, but Brooke knows, because Brooke's been adding them. She hasn't been like putting down the actual things.
There's only 4 left.
I think most of them are the 100s then.
You want geography for 300s? Yeah.
Okay, what are the 4
Oh.
clans called that were put into place after the fall of the Mongols? And for this one, you don't have to say like each one, just like what were they all like called?
5. That's 1, 2,
Oh,
6.
great.
Paradox.
I'm losing track. 10,
And then
9,
I can't pronounce that word.
8,
It's
7, most likely, 6.
And that one, right there.
5.
okay, well,
I know.
I was just looking for that.
Oh, I said it like 7 times.
So technically that's correct.
Good job.
Group
Virtuals.
Okay, can you go back to the?
I thought you had to name
Okay,
them all.
last question.
So this is our last question and virtual kids. Which one do you want to do?
Hey,
Wait, but which ones are left? Or which one?
Which ones are left? Which ones have been on? Oh, did I just turn it off?
Empire Dynasty is 100.
Okay. Empire's Dynasties 100 is open. Oh wait, never mind, it's not.
200, 200. Okay.
Okay, is this one okay?
Yes.
Okay, which Latin American empire did humans sacrifice?
Was it the Aztecs?
Yes, it was. The Aztec Empire. So, which group got the most? Group 1. Okay, group 1 wins.
okay, which one was group 1? Nice job. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, whether we are virtual or in person, let's give this nice group a round of applause for doing a good job organizing information. Okay. I'm gonna need everybody's attention up here, please.
That's mine now.
I'm gonna ask one more time or else you're gonna lose points on for your group. I need your attention up here, please. I don't see eye contact. Okay, yesterday you were supposed to write a SAQ in class. That would have been uploaded if you were absent or if you, I don't know, some of you didn't upload it. I know that as a fact. So that is on here. Tonight, you have a lot to study over all the information that you were just presented. Okay, that unit is open on your college board for you to go practice multiple choice question, free response questions, and or DBQs over similar content. On top of that, tomorrow, you're gonna be writing 3 DBQs in 40 minutes. Sorry, SAQs. Now, they are, it's not open for discussion. You need to listen, okay? When you write the 3 SAQs, unless you can prove to me that you've already applied for accommodations on the AP exam, you're gonna need to do it in 40 minutes. It's not gonna be a big grade, but it's something that you need to practice, okay? If that is the case, see me individually, not in front of everybody, and ask me after class, okay? If you're not sure of how to do that, you need to send an email to Mr. Hodson, ahodson@msdwt.k12.in.us, and get that process started sooner rather than later, okay? I think that is it. Notice how we tried to get things started off on time as it will go by quick. So those of you that are virtual, you need to make sure you get on time, please. And then those of you that come into the room, be ready to get started immediately, so that we can take full advantage of the extra 7 minutes that you have compared to period 9, okay? Last piece of advice is you're not gonna dissect all that information in 40 minutes, or 30 minutes, so you're gonna need to go back and study those packets, and that had a lot of information in it, so kudos to that group. And virtual students, feel free to leave unless you have a question about accommodation or something. Let me know. All right, apparently none.